The identification should be either a government-issued ID, which would be your passport, or the voter's ID, or the driver's license. We would also consider IDs issued by various ministries, departments, and agencies, IDs, as long as they have a photograph which is visible. The police will exercise discretion in other areas. If you have, for example, an ID issued by a registered university, tertiary institution, or a school, the police will use their discretion as long as they can see your face matching what is on the photo ID. Why do we need you to have ID? For persons who are 65 years and older during the period of the lockdown, you will be allowed to pursue the essentials of life between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. Well, let me just back up a little bit so that we're clear. The pursuance of the essentials of life will not be done every day within the 7-day lockdown. You will be allowed 2 days in which you are allowed movement to pursue the essentials of life. These are the days that we expect our citizens to be able to restock their cupboards, refill their prescription. For medical emergencies, you will be allowed as they arise. And I think everybody should understand that point. As if you have a medical emergency, it is an emergency. You go out on the road, carry your ID, explain to the officer if you are stopped. An understanding policeman using his discretion would probably be escorting you, helping you to get to the doctor, if that is possible. The 2 days for restocking would be Wednesdays and Saturdays. And I use the days in plural, which signals that though we are going for 7 days, it is likely that it could go for 14. So the plan that we have is that within the 7-day period, you will have 2 days for your restocking. So you would have Wednesday the 15th, which is tomorrow. You will be allowed to get your stock, which is only fair, seeing that it is short notice. And Saturday the 18th. Again, we think that that is fair. So, if you are 65 years or older, if you are a pregnant woman, well, I should just say if you are pregnant, and if you are otherwise abled, and I hope everybody understands what I mean, if you are a person with disabilities, then you will be allowed between the hours of 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. to pursue the essentials of life. We expect you to pursue only the essentials. So I wouldn't advise that you go too far, that you go to the nearest point to get your stocks refilled and return home immediately. There is no time for window shopping to go and meet your friend. No time for that. Just go pick up what you have to pick up, return home. If you are elderly and you are not able to go by yourself, the police and military have been advised that if an elderly person is being accompanied, that's fine. That should be encouraged, actually, as long as you are maintaining the necessary hygiene protocols, because you don't want to endanger the older population. If you are well, let me rephrase what I was about to say. So if you are not in that category of the 65 years and older, between the period of 10 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. on Wednesday the 15th and Saturday the 18th, and your surname begins with A to M, you can go out onto the street, preferably one person per household. We don't want everybody onto the street, one person per household with ID, to pursue the essentials of life. Again, the same advice. Go to the closest point, get the things you need, and return home as quickly as possible. If your surname is between N and Z, or Z, whichever one you prefer, between 1:30 p.m. and 5 p.m., you will be expected and allowed on Wednesday the 15th and Saturday the 18th to pursue the essentials of life. And the essentials of life, again, is to go to the supermarket or the corner shop or the pharmacy or the gas station and return home. For clarity, let me repeat, therefore, the parish of St. Catherine will be under a lockdown from 5 a.m., that's tomorrow morning, Wednesday, April 15th, 2020, through to 5 a.m., Wednesday, April 22nd. During the lockdown, everyone is expected to stay in their premises. If you are ill, whether you are an essential service member or not, if you are exhibiting symptoms from flu or respiratory illness, stay at home. If you're coughing, sneezing, sniffling, cold, fever, stay at home. Tan at your yard. More than that, isolate yourself. You are allowed to pursue the essentials of life, but this has to be done in an orderly way to limit movement during this period of time. 2 days are allowed for you to pursue the essentials of life. Wednesday the 15th and Saturday the 18th. You will pursue the essentials of life in the following following way. If you are 65 years and over, if you are pregnant, or you are a person with disabilities, you can go to your pharmacy, to your supermarket, to your corner shop, purchase the items that you need, and return home. And that is between the hours of 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. If your surname begins with A through to M, and you are below 65 years of age, then between 10 a.m. and 1:30 p.m., you can pursue the essentials of life. If your surname begins between N and Z, between 1:30 p.m. and 5 p.m., you can pursue the essentials of life. Everyone who is going to venture on the road or into a public space must take with them some form of identification. That identification must bear a picture, It must be either a government-issued ID, which could be your passport, or your driver's license, or the electoral ID, the national electoral ID, or an ID issued by the any ministry of government, department, or agency of government. The police will use their discretion as it relates to other forms of identification, for example, IDs issued by registered universities or schools, or a recognizable institution of public note. In this regard, whenever you are in the public within St. Catherine during the period of the lockdown, you must wear a mask. I'm putting it in this way: the requirement, when it is probably written in the Gazette, will be that you must have your nose and mouth covered. It could be a mask, it could be a scarf, but whatever it is. And I'm seeing some very innovative designs taking shape now, and I'm seeing them right inside this room. You must wear a mask. You must cover your nose and mouth in public. All the social distancing rules apply, and the Gazette, when published, will specify that there is now a duty. There always was, but we will be much clearer in it. A duty on those businesses that are allowed to remain open. There will be a duty on them to make prescriptions, define space for people to stand and form lines in order to access service, which means that there will be defined spaces 3 feet or more apart that each person can occupy to get service. This is all new to Jamaica. And I know it is not going to be easy for people to comply. Some people will see it as a tremendous imposition, a tremendous burden. But I just want you to stop for a moment and reflect on what has happened. We have been going quite nicely all along. And just one instance, and you see the numbers balloon. People haven't been taking it seriously. This is a dreadful disease. It has taken many lives, and Jamaica is particularly risky in terms of our population health profile, with many NCDs which weaken our immune system and exposes us. Obesity, diabetes, heart conditions, respiratory conditions, hypertension, all of those are prevalent in our society. And so the uncontrolled spread of this disease, in addition to having to treat all of those conditions, would place our health system under severe stress. We don't want to have to make the decision, as other countries have had to make, who lives and who dies, who gets on a ventilator and who doesn't, who gets a bed and who doesn't. But if our citizens don't act responsibly, then that is the burden that you would thrust upon the government to determine your life, when you can literally determine the outcome of your life by being responsible. So we have had to take this drastic action. Today I had a virtual meeting with the BPO Association. Now let me say from the outset that not all operators of BPOs are members of the association. They all fall under regulatory authority, the Jamaica Special Economic Zone Authority. But the group that I was able to meet with at short notice, having just gotten this information, was the BPO Association. Generally, by and large, from the reports that we have received, most of their members have been following the recommended protocols. They have established protocols that are higher than the recommended protocols. In fact, I was pleased to learn that they have moved 26% of their employment to work from home arrangements. They have, the BPO sector employs close to 40,000 persons, and they have moved over 10,000 persons into work from home arrangements. They are looking at other mechanisms. But it is clear that there are some operators who were not following protocols, who were not faithful in observing protocols. What we will have to do as a government, because this is now a matter of national importance, it is a matter of ensuring compliance. I have asked the Commissioner of Police to thoroughly investigate, along with the Health Department, the circumstances under which this outbreak took place, and to pursue charges under the Disaster Risk Management Act. We cannot take this thing lightly, and consequences must fall where we can establish culpability. So I'll leave it there for now, and I'll ask you want to make the
All right, folks. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening.
You don't know who I am, but I know all about you. I've come to talk to you tonight about the things I've seen you do. I've come to set the record straight. I've come to shine the light on you. Let me introduce myself. I am the cold hard truth.
Okay, good evening, folks, and welcome to another segment of the Cold Hard Truth. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the show this evening. Big thanks to King, who pointed out that we sounded really strange on today's show. He indicated that we were sounded like, I went back and I listened to it. It's kind of weird. It almost sounds like we were using a voice changer or something, which definitely wasn't the case. But throughout the entire show, I did notice that my mic was blinking red. And I think when that's happening, I don't know the technical logistics of exactly what's going on, but there's some kind of communication error that causes that problem. And so he pointed it out to me, which nobody else mentioned. Let me guys know, like, let me know, because to me, I'm sounding like myself talking into the mic. So, of course, I don't know what it sounds like any differently. So, if you guys don't inform me, I have no idea what's going on. Um, so yes, tune into YouTube. We've got the YouTube stream up, of course, and I think you guys can see me here on Facebook. So yeah, so basically, we did some mic checks. I think we're back to sounding normal tonight. But again, if you ever hear that kind of weird sound, please let me know. And sorry, I need to actually adjust this camera a little bit because I think it is, for some reason, my apologies. I'm messing with the camera settings, but there we go. I think that's, oh, that might be too high. Just need to adjust this so you guys can actually see me properly. But listen, we were showing you guys a break-in press conference out of Jamaica. The story is going to be going up in the website here shortly. Basically, you know, the entire parish, I think is what it's called, of St. Catherine, is now under a 7-day curfew. There we go. I think that's a little bit better. My head was being cut off. So the parish of St. Andrew is now under a, get my flag there in the background representing the Cayman Islands. So the parish of St. Catherine is now under a 1-week curfew from today's date until the 22nd. So it actually starts in the morning from tomorrow morning at 5 o'clock until the 22nd. And this is all because of an outbreak in a workplace there in their community. So, you know, now they've got over 100 cases. So they went from, what, 60 something cases to over 100 cases literally overnight. And it is all because of people putting money over everything else. You know, everybody's complaining. Oh, they want to make money. They want to keep factories open, call centers. This is actually a call center. You know, they want to keep these businesses open. I think not recognizing the fact that you are putting your own lives and the lives of other people at risk, and it's not worth it. All the money in the world cannot bring dead people back. We've not yet seen that happen. So, in my mind, you're better off being broke and poor and alive and healthy than rich and dead because the money's not bringing you back. So, again, one outbreak, one major outbreak, has an entire parish on lockdown. I don't know how many people are in the parish of St. Catherine. We can try looking that up, but I suspect it's a lot of people. And so now all of these thousands of people are going to be impacted by this whole situation because of this one outbreak. So now people are going to be under mandatory curfew. So St. Catherine is the capital of Spanish Town, so I guess it's just that particular parish. And Jamaica is a very big country, so we're talking about a total area of 460 square miles for St. Catherine. Population wise, I don't see any numbers in terms of population. I'll keep having a look, but some tourist sites are in the area of St. Catherine as well. But this has got to be thousands of people that are impacted by this. So all I can tell you is if you do not listen, it's only a matter of time before you're going to have the consequences of this. So according to a 2018 census, population wise was 521,000 persons, so over 500,000 people in Jamaica, in the parish of St. Catherine. And those are 2018 population estimates from a census that they did back in, it looks like December of 2018. So that's a couple years ago. So the population has probably grown since then. Yeah. So over 500,000 people. So folks, take it seriously. It's happening all over the world. There's lots of stuff going on in the US. The numbers in New York jumped by over 3,700 after, let me just pull this one up, after they realized that they had not counted some 3,700 persons in their figures for the number of deceased persons. So that's a significant number for New York. And again, Trump he's in a bit of a power struggle with some governors, state governors and stuff, where he is claiming that they're going to be ready to go by May. And we're April the 14th. So he's basically saying in 2 weeks, they're going to be jump-starting the American economy. Somehow I doubt that. I think this man remains largely delusional about what's really happening. And maybe in a time like this, you can be delusional if you are, if you're the average person, but when you're leading a country of millions of people and your decisions and what you say to them impacts their lives, I would think that you want to have a serious reality check and you want to be, with the program. Gavin, thank you so much for tuning in. He says, nice to have you back. I could not wait for the show to start. I like the program this morning and hope that your daughter's okay and feeling fine. Let's get started. Anne says Jamaican people are not taking things seriously. Well, we can say that about all over the world right now because, Caymanians, people living here in the Cayman Islands, by and large, are not taking it seriously either. We see a lot of breaches over the weekend of the curfew. Even in the States, there's someone sent a picture of people, I can't remember what the location was, but it was like they were hanging out in a park or something stupid. And I'm thinking, what are you people doing? They're not taking it seriously at all. And I don't know why that is. I mean, I always hope that that's a small percentage of the community, but that's all it takes to spread something like this. So Rory says solidarity with our neighbors in Jamaica for sure. Jeffrey wants to know any new cases. So as of today, there are no new results in. So there was no update to the current numbers. So what we do know is that complex off of School Road in town, the authorities are back there again today, basically collecting samples from everyone who lives in that complex. I would suggest they go broader than the complex because my sources have indicated that the neighbors' houses next door and so on are all very close to people in that complex who we know have been infected. So in terms of the trace contacting, they need to spread out. They need to go beyond that complex and do the neighborhood more generally speaking, especially the homes directly adjacent to that property. And again, those are my inside sources. I never tell you guys where I get my information from, but rest assured, I do get a lot of information. So I think they need to spread it out. Levita says, I can tell that every Jamaican listening, brogad right now. What does brogad mean? I've seen a few people use that term. I'm sorry. I've never heard it before, so I don't know what it means. Brogad. Am I even saying it right? Right now, if Jamaicans don't follow the rules, police and soldiers will kill them instead of COVID-19. Well, hopefully not, but there are other countries who said, listen, the president of the Philippines, I will shoot you. I'm giving my guys orders to shoot you if you do not adhere to the quarantine. No one in their right mind would think that that's right, but there are governments out there who are crazy enough to do it. I don't know if Jamaica is one of those governments or not. I guess Jamaican people would probably know that more than I would. Anita, good evening to you. Sandy, thought I posted a message to say that your voice sounded deep. Thought I did, maybe not. Yeah, I didn't see that message, Anne, so I kind of don't think you did. But I think we're sounding good tonight. Everything looks normal. Masum Amid says, hi, how are you doing? We're good, we're good, we're good. So Rubante, I think that's how that's pronounced, 500,000 people, so 418,000 persons. Thank you so much. And Jamaica was doing so well with this, Sue. That is absolutely wrong. Jamaica was not doing well at all. What was happening in Jamaica is they're not testing enough people. I don't know how many test kits they have, but under testing will give you a false sense of security. So if you're not testing a large portion of your population, you kind of feel like, let me see if I can find out how many people they've tested, because we need to know the numbers. So it's all relevant to how many people are being tested, right? So that is the key. And I don't know, let me see what their information service is, but I think in terms of percentage of the population, they've not really tested a whole lot of people. And that's why they only have the results that you see. But I do not believe for 1 minute that they were doing well at all. I mean, I literally believe that we have hundreds of cases here, and I've said this before, and by extension, I believe that Jamaica has thousands of cases. The Prime Minister has been reluctant to accept people back in Jamaica. However, we're going to be posting a story here in just a minute on our website about the fact that the Americans have said that, I'm just trying to read this message that someone just sent me. The Americans have said that they're actually extraditing certain people from certain Jamaicans from the okay, I need to figure that one out. Someone's trying to tell me what it means, but I need to figure that one out. So yes, so the Americans are expelling certain Jamaicans. I don't know under what basis. I just kind of skimmed the article, but I know that our regional correspondent Danica is working on putting that up. So Jamaica's going to have no choice but to take those persons back. Sue, yeah, Cayman is way smaller. He's the prime minister. That's what they call him. WWE is considered essential. The show continues even without fans. Is crazy. I don't follow WWE since I was a kid, so I don't know what that one is all about. There'll be certain sports and entertainment wise, I know some sports have continued without the I don't know who this is trying to talk to me. I'm like, people, I'm doing my show. Like, seriously. Like, people message me and they're like, oh, what show? I'm like, where have you been? All right, folks. Is Cayman testing large scale? Well, here's the thing. We are going to be starting large scale testing. I don't know what's so urgent that this person needs to urgently talk to me, but we will be starting testing here shortly. And it is my understanding that now that we have the various components of the test kits, the swabs and the other bits and pieces, that we should start now to see more larger scale testing with the view of expanding the persons who can actually be eligible for testing. Because remember, previously we had a very strict requirement in terms of who could be tested. And so what that meant was only if you showed symptoms could you even be tested. And now they are going to broaden that where it's less restrictive. They're going to start with, personnel, frontline personnel, so all of the essential workers, hospital staff, and so on, because they are the most at risk. So it makes total sense to start with them first. And of course, continue checking any contact checks that they need to. So as a result of that, what do you call it? Of that condo being infected and those persons there, we now know that at least another 40 something people are being tested. So we'll have to see kind of how that goes. So roughly 500,000 persons. Thank you, Shauna. Sue, okay, Sandra, I get it now. Yeah. So, testing in the Cayman Islands is free. I'm assuming in most countries, the governments make it free because it's in the government's best interest to ensure that that they actually go about testing as many people as possible so that they can have accurate numbers. So all right, folks, so that's what's going on in Jamaica. In terms of the Cayman Islands, again, we have no new results. So we will keep an eye on that situation. And we continue with the soft curfew during the day, hard curfew at nights, hard curfew on Sunday. I think our shelter in place orders will continue to be in place for a bit. And some person is annoying me on WhatsApp, so I will block this contact. Some people have a little bit too much time on their hands. So yes, so that will continue as is. Beaches are closed. There will be no activity on beaches at all. So no swimming, no paddle boarding. We're going to talk about that situation here in a minute of the person that we put up earlier today. No paddle boarding, nothing of the sort. We will continue to stay the course and see how that flushes out for us. I mean, we're hopeful to be able to get this under control. And at the end of the day, let's all make sure that we continue to do what we need to do. We stay inside, we shelter, shelter in place. That's what this is all about. So Shan says, I'm watching Jamaican press conference, me soon forward. So we were actually just live streaming that, Shan, before we started our show. And essentially the Prime Minister was saying that, at the end of the day, they're going to do a complete curfew lockdown on St. Catherine. If you have emergency doctor's visits and stuff like that, those will be permitted. Travel with your ID so that, if the police stop you, they know who you are, because they're going to be enforcing that very, very strongly. So he's just stressing to people that this is no joke. You have got to be as vigilant as possible right now, because that jump, and again, that's just one parish. I mean, Jamaica's a big country with over 3 million people. So it would be nothing for Jamaica to have thousands of people with this. And they announced at our press conference today, I'm just going to recap some of what was covered there. One of the key things that the governor mentioned is they are working behind the scenes on trying to get back, some indication of kind of what locations they can get people who want to return home out of. So people have been calling the travel emergency travel line. They've been collecting that information. So it looks like they're prepared to do a flight to Miami. So if you can go into Miami and then go elsewhere in the world, you should start making preparations to leave. If you can go to, I think he mentioned Nicaragua as one potential flight as well. Honduras, I think, is a possibility. He said that they were working with Jamaica, but Jamaica was presenting some difficulties. And I think what's happening, again, this he didn't specify, so this is just my opinion, that really and truly the Jamaican government has to open up their borders. If the Jamaican government says no, we can't force Jamaicans to get on a plane, because where are they going to go? So I think they're waiting for Prime Minister Andrew Holness to agree to accept these persons, and he's already said that the Jamaican government is in no position to put you up in a hotel for 2 weeks at their cost. So as a Jamaican national, if you decide to go back, you have to prepare to have the finances to be able to contribute, at least in part, to your mandatory isolation, which he's saying would be in place, but the government cannot pick up the tab entirely. So he had made that announcement, I think, at some point last week. In terms of what our premier said today, he said that, because of our population size, the government remains confident that we can eliminate COVID-19 within the Cayman Islands. And he actually said that this is absolutely achievable. So it's something that can be done. And he has, had indications from that, even from the health workers in the UK who came to the Cayman Islands to spend some time here, giving us some advice on how to happen. So another 40 samples were taken from 26 single and small family dwellings at this Georgetown apartment complex. And again, at the moment, it's under a mandatory isolation. So those people are not permitted to get out of there. And I guess so far they said all persons are doing well. And they're also looking at wider contacts of the person who breached isolation protocols at the complex. And supposedly those persons are being tested. As we mentioned this morning, we have concerns that that person might not be 100% honest about all of their wider contacts, especially if it's a situation where one of the wider contacts is somebody else's husband. So I would caution the public health authorities to really dig deep into this and to try to honestly find out who this woman has been in contact with. And again, we're just giving it to you as we get it. But we have a population size of about 65,000 people. I think one of the important things is the more people that we can allow to leave, the better. That is in our best interest. So far, we've tested 580, 54 positives. So you guys do the math on that to come up with the percentage. 526 negatives. 6 have fully recovered. 1 death, which again was the first Italian man. 16 are symptomatic. 6 have clinically recovered. 28 remain asymptomatic. So in other words, they're not showing any symptoms, and they're still the one on Cayman Brac. 5 admitted to the hospital are either stable or doing well. And at the HSA, 1 person is on a ventilator, and 1 person is said to be in stable condition, and a 3rd patient is a lot better. Health City has 2 patients there, but they're actually, I think, being treated for other things, but they happen to also be COVID-19 positive. So that's kind of where we're at today. He also explained something very interesting about different categories of COVID-19 transmission. And I think that is some additional information from today. I'm just having a quick look. The governor had a number of comments. The only 2 bullet points that they had here from the minister, I mean, it's ironic because he actually had quite a lot to say, but the GIS press release only said 10 new staff members have been brought on board for DEH, which is the Department of Health, to help with solid waste, and all DEH collections are on time and targets are being met. So that's in relation to the garbage collection. So again, the governor said possible evacuations for Miami, Canada, Nicaragua. They're working on a flight to Jamaica, but that's proving to be more difficult. And again, he didn't specify why that is. Plans for Indian nationals who have sought to leave are on hold currently, since India has extended closure of its borders for another 3 weeks. So they were trying to work on that, but unfortunately, the Indian government isn't letting anybody in. And there's also another possibility of perhaps one more air bridge using British Airways, and that is likewise being looked at. And he just encouraged people to make sure that you stay away from the beaches, don't risk it. Okay, so let's just have some of your comments. Lorna says no gathering of people, friends, and family, houses or yards. That supplies for everyone. Yes, are Caymanians stranded in Jamaica? Lorna, I have not heard of anyone being stranded in Jamaica, so I don't think so. But there might be one or two, but I've actually not heard of any. So Charles wants to know, why is there a hard curfew on Sunday? I think that they just needed to pick one day a week. And so it's probably easier for people to do Sundays, especially since the other days are allocated alphabetically. So everyone gets 3 days per week when they can do their errands or their shopping. That doesn't mean that you should go out every day that you can. You pick one of your 3 days. So Sunday is the only day that, there's no alphabet assigned to. So I think that was probably the most logical day and should just shut it down. Grocery stores are closed on Sunday in any event. There is a Sunday trading law where normally they'd be closed except in emergency kind of situations. So Sunday just seems like the most logical day. The banks are closed. Even on Saturdays, some banks do have operational hours on Saturday. So Sunday just kind of makes sense. Ingrid said because people won't listen. And Sunday is everybody's rest day. Thomas says Scotch Corner. I don't know if he's tagging someone there. They won't stay home or listen, says Sue. Yes, we have a lot of people who are not doing that. Mitzi, thank you so much for joining in. Yep, so Sophia, we were just talking about this situation in Jamaica, where they now have some 105 at least cases. And that's a significant number. So we shall be keeping an eye on that situation. So I think anyone who is trying to go home at this particular time to Jamaica, you need to be obviously very, very concerned about the increase in numbers that are happening in that jurisdiction, but really anywhere that you're traveling to. Okay, so let's do Q&A. I know that some of you have some questions, and this is an Seek Out Sandy segment. So I'm going to just stick that little banner up there. There we go. And basically how this works is you ask a question and I do my best to get you the answer. If I do not know the answer, then I will certainly assist with finding out. So how many tests are outstanding? We know for sure that there's the 40 plus from just that one complex. There may be a couple more outside of that. I'm thinking that we should have those results in the next day or two. One of the interesting things that the chief medical officer said is that, there are a number of, somebody said that they want to get on. I'm trying to find out who this is and what the topic is. So if you're trying to call this show, it probably makes sense to just WhatsApp me first, indicating who it is and what you'd like to discuss. And then we can take it from there. So we can do a proper introduction. So at least 40 plus is what I would say. The lab, he was indicating that the lab has been working extremely hard. And at the end of the day, they, at the end of the day, we can expect to hopefully have those results here shortly. Topic is misinformation re Corona. All right, so somebody named Daniela wants to join the show on WhatsApp. So let's go ahead and bring her into the conversation. So remember, folks, if you want to join in, 324-1612 is the number. I would, like I said, recommend you first just messaging to say what the topic is, and then we can certainly bring you in. So let's have Daniela join in, and we can take it from there.
Hello.
Hi.
Yes, hi. Are you on live or this is just a phone call?
No, this is live. How can we help? You're on air.
Okay. Miss Catron Hill,
Mm-hmm.
I am messaging you because I was notified about an hour ago that you indirectly mentioned me in a podcast or something regarding
Okay,
my sister
so
Athena.
you just lied. Your name isn't Daniela, and you're not
I don't
calling
really
about.
care. Yes, but you lie all the time, so I don't think it makes it.
All right, so oh my gosh, that's this woman Athena from the UK. Athena, get a life. Seriously, woman, get a life. This woman really is obsessed, and she is a disturbed and sick individual. So she just messaged us claiming to be someone else to be able to get on the show, so that she can have on my platform the opportunity to try and attack me yet again when she's been doing that all over social media. Woman, get a life. Get a life. Seriously. Poor Athena. You're a sick woman. Let me hit the block button. So she was trying to call me from a UK number, blocked that, and then she turns around and let's block her again. Then she turns around and calls us from a local number, pretending to be somebody else because she's such an honest person. So if you guys don't know who Athena is, her sister was involved. We were talking about this morning. You guys will remember the immigration case, right? So I don't even know if this is Athena or the sister, but whichever one, it doesn't really matter to me. Her sister was convicted and being mixed up with this English language test, and for some reason she's blaming everybody else for her conviction. She somehow thinks that it's my fault, and I guess because we were talking about it this morning, she's now upset about it. And here's another one, Christina. Why don't you answer Athena's phone calls? You have much to say. I'm living on government benefits. Oh, woman, please. You people just need to get a life. What was said about Athena that isn't true? I mean, all the messages are there about how she's always trying to lambast people with a bunch of foolishness, a bunch of lies. I don't have to answer her, Christina. Or Kristalina, whatever your name is. I don't have to talk to her. You know what I'm saying? You guys have your own platforms. Do your own show. Do your own thing. No one really cares. Come off of CMR. Your sister was convicted. She's going to prison. Just admit it and leave everybody else alone. The truth hurts sometimes. We all have criminals in our family. I've got criminals in my family. I'm not defending them. I'm not going to bat for them. If they did something wrong, they deserve to end up in jail. That's right where they should be. Good riddance and have a good time in Fairbanks. Let's keep it moving. Gadiel says, when do you plan to start more widespread? Okay, I think we answered that already. So they're going to be starting because now they have the test kits here. They're preparing the lab. They're gearing everything up, and they are ready to go. So let's do it. So any idea when Western Union is going to open? So June, no idea when that's going to happen. So we will have to. Oh yeah, somebody said that sounds like the crazy sister Phaedra. Oh my God, there's a whole. You people need to get it together. Something in the genes on that side of the whatever. Yes, Kristalina, call me a liar. I don't really care. I don't care what you think. Try to understand me. Don't draw me out tonight, please. Yes, Lavita, let's get back to Seek Out Sandy because these idle people are trying their best to draw me out. It's not me that's headed to Northward. It's not me that has been convicted of defrauding this country and stealing from the Cayman Islands government, basically. So, whatever. Grant says, so true, Miss Sandy. Let's get back to it. Jonathan, what questions? Right, Western Union. So listen, in terms of Western Union, none of the money services businesses are open. We've had a number of complaints about this because obviously people want to be able to send money home. They want to be able to receive money. So this is a real bad situation I find that people are in. And in fact, me myself had to send funds off today and was unable to do so. So what I did, which I know that everyone's not going to have this option available to them, but I was able to send it online with Western Union by using my Cayman debit card. So I didn't know that this was possible, but apparently it is. Now, I think it worked for me because I do have a US phone number and I do have a, like my Cayman debit card because I use it online all the time for orders. I do have it linked to a US address. So when I went online and I did the transaction, whatever, one of the really interesting things is that Western Union contacted me and they had about, no lie, 15 questions easily. Name, address, date of birth, why are you sending this money? Who is this person? They even wanted to know, why, what was the question that was really weird? Oh, what is the distance between me and the person? So of course I knew that I used my Miami address. I'm like, okay, they're in another part of Florida. And I'm like, distance, like mileage? And she's like, yeah, like how long would it take you to drive there? And I'm thinking, what? So they did ask a lot of security questions. This was the first time I was actually using that service. So I don't know if this is like, because it's the first time kind of situation, but it was very thorough. But I was able to send the funds. They said, yep, the person will receive it directly into their bank account. So I do realize that that's not going to be something that will be available to everyone. And I think that that option may only give you the ability, because it's going to like, from my card to bank account, it has to be like a US or Canadian bank account. So again, that's not going to help people in Latin America, South America, or the Caribbean. Dominique says to relax. Dominique. Yvette says to block this lady and continue with our show. I think that's what we're going to have to do because she's just getting ridiculous and crazy. Kristalina, or whatever your name is, this is my show and I'm entitled to my opinion. You can start your own show and you can be entitled to your opinion. There was nothing in my opinion that was false or anything of the sort. We're talking about a conviction that's on record and actions that I don't know how you related to Athena, but you guys need to actually get a life. You should have way more concerns in the UK right now, such as trying to stay alive and be worried about that, as opposed to trying to harass people on this platform. That would be my suggestion. Yvette says, Sandy, yes, block her. We've done that now. So, yeah, nobody, child, please, nobody ain't talking to her. Well, if you think that someone has lied, what you do is you contact a lawyer and you make them handle it. Jorge says that I'm in Mexico looking for political asylum. I love your island. I want to go there to work. And anything, I'm Cuban citizen. Please, can you help in the future? God bless your island. And I have a lot of friends there. I believe it's great government and God bless the Cayman Islands. So Jorge, all I can tell you right now is it's going to be very difficult for anyone seeking political asylum to come into this country because at the moment we do not have those options available to us. I mean, we need to kind of hold down our own, if you know what I mean. So it's a bit of a ticklish situation. Jenny wants to know if there's any confirmation of a flight leaving on Saturday the 18th to Nicaragua. So Jenny, what the governor said today is that they are working on it. He's not confirmed anything. I mean, I would think that's only 4 days away. I would think if they had a confirmed flight already set up for Nicaragua, that he probably would have said that today, because obviously people are going to need at least a couple days to pack and get themselves ready and get together, right? But he hasn't said that as yet. He said that they are working very, very hard at getting that together, and that hopefully in the coming days we should know more about what destinations they're going to be traveling to, and exactly how that's going to pan out. So as soon as we know, you guys will definitely know. So Jenny, I hope that is helpful. Jonathan says, have you heard anything more about the comments made by Mr. Seymour? About the comments that made Mr. Seymour concerned. So no, I'm assuming you're talking about the ones that brought him to tears on Saturday. He's not mentioned it since. The governor was supportive of him yesterday and said that, he's doing a good job and he's working hard. And today, he gave some updated information, and that's pretty much it. So we've not heard a peep. It's kind of gone a little dead at the moment. So I see a few people blowing up my feed here. So yes, total lockdown of the parish of St. Catherine beginning tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. and continues for the next 7 days. It's kind of peculiar that they're only doing it for 7 days, because I would have thought that they would have been doing it for longer than that, especially knowing how long it takes to even know if someone is going to show any symptoms. So the recommended waiting time is actually 14 days, and it can last longer than that. And in fact, I was reading something today about another case that they were looking at, where they were saying that infections can actually travel as far as up to 13 feet. So right now we're being told 6 feet, social distancing, so on and so forth. But something I was reading today said something about 13 feet. And I thought, oh my goodness, it's kind of hard to operate with that. But they have actually shown that in some instances where people are sick and they sneeze and whatever, they can leave droplets, or they can disperse droplets as far out as 13 feet away. And then there was something about them showing up on your shoes and stuff like that as well. So this virus is no joke, people. So this is what it says. Coronavirus researchers find transmission distance may be 4 meters. And this again was a situation in Australia. And 1.5 meters, while they were in New Zealand, 2 meters, and it can go out from there. So good night, Keisha. Thank you so much for joining in. So I've got all these random people now on my WhatsApp who are connected to Athena and I guess her sister. They're all messaging me pretending like they want to come on the show and talk about something else when they are just wishing to harass me. So there's a young lady with purplish hair. That's apparently one of Phaedra's daughters. And this is how ridiculous and sick these people are. She's now messaging from a 923 number, claiming that, hi, my name is Monique and I'm a student, and I was wondering if I could talk about staying inside for the coronavirus and equal treatment of women on this island, when in fact, she just wants to come on here to try to curse people out. So sorry for you. Oh my goodness, these people are so funny. Because they know that I don't know any of them, so they're trying a thing tonight. Oh my goodness. Get it together, people. Okay, so Rubante regarding pensions. So nothing as yet about pensions. That's not going to happen until probably next week. So the premier said that there's delay with pensions. There's a couple of things that's happening here. Number one, they needed to speak with the pensions company and get a proposal from them, a report from them. I don't know how long that took, but they got that last week. So now that they have that in their possession, they then have to turn around and have a meeting of the Legislative Assembly to make the legislative changes. So a lot of these other provisions that we have in place, like the stay at home, the shelter in place, all these things were done very, very quickly because they are designed for emergency cases like this, where the government can say, okay, we're going to force people to stay at home. We're going to do X, Y, Z. At the end of the day, those things can be deployed very, very quickly. So, something like changing the pensions law is not something that can be deployed as quickly as that, because the way that that law is designed, it is designed to allow for changes under certain circumstances, which means that the Legislative Assembly has to meet, and then they need to go through the proposed changes and put the bill forward. Everybody votes on the bill and that sort of thing. So that will happen. I think they have decided that legally they could, because again, they have to change laws now to even meet, because the Legislative Assembly requires them meeting in the LA. So they've even had to change the law as it relates to that, so that they could meet via Zoom. So I think the Attorney General had made some legislative changes to that, and that has now been done. Jackie, will they have a flight to Honduras? I think that they didn't mention Honduras, but I think that that will depend on whether or not Honduras will let anybody in. Because remember, just like Jamaica, Honduras is one of those countries that has closed their borders. And so in order for them to accept any flights, their government has to agree to that. And I don't really know what the position is. So Andrea, good evening. Ingrid says, block them all. Girl, I'm trying, but they're coming out of the woodworks like worms tonight. Very, very annoying. Audrey says, that was my friend. He's getting picked up from a private jet company. He rented it for 1 day to take home. I'm not sure what that's in reference to. Maureen, yes, we're trying to tell them we ain't got time for them. They're a bunch of jokers. Very sick people. They need to get it together. Diana says, good evening, Sandri. Just throw them out to the wolves and watch your fans devour them. You know, at a time like this, we don't even have time for the pettiness. And these people are just like so ridiculous. Jonathan wants information on the apartment complex that was quarantined. I'm not sure, Jonathan, what kind of information you're looking for. But yes, they had an active case. At least, well, we have heard there were actually 3 people infected in the complex or adjacent properties. One was the original guy who came back from the Dominican Republic, gave it to another friend, and then she passed it on to this woman who now has it. And this woman who now has it, she is supposed to have been sheltered under a self-isolation situation at home. And unfortunately, she was not doing that. So Levita, and that's why now she's gone into mandatory lockdown. And also there are no, they're now doing wide-scale testing in the entire complex and hopefully the surrounding area as well. So Levita, there's no indication of what it will be in terms of your pension money. I don't think, and this again is just my opinion, I do not believe that they can allow people to just withdraw everything out of their pension, because you're depleting all of the pension funds. And remember, the funds are, they're using, I guess, some of that money for operational costs and stuff as well, right? They've invested your money. So I don't know how easy it is for them to pull out money just like that. And if you can get everything, I seriously doubt that it would be everything. maybe it's just going to be a percentage. But you know, I was looking at a pension statement that I have that was, I think, 1 month last year or something, so it's a little bit dated. And I was thinking to myself, I wonder what my current pension balance is. It's probably nowhere near that, because remember, now the markets have crashed. So because the markets have crashed, essentially what that means is that the value of your pension fund isn't really what you think it is. So even if they say you get 50%, if your pension fund now only has a couple $1,000s in it, or $5,000 or whatever, it certainly depends on how long you've been contributing and the amounts that you've been contributing. But if it doesn't have that much, then, you know, oh, poor Alicia. Oh gosh, another one again. So I guess it's Alicia who's pretending that her name is Monica. Yes, I'm a narcissist. Okay, Alicia, thank you for the diagnosis. I appreciate it. Yes, we're all about fake news and lies. No problem. Thank you. Where's that block button? There we go. Block user. Goodbye. Toodaloo. Wendy says, don't pay this woman no mind. She is sick. Listen, if sickness runs in a family, it seems like that whole clan might need to check themselves into Bellevue or something. I don't know. Thank you, Susie, for the love. I appreciate it. Jake says, do you know anything about the 2 people who used the air ambulance to get here from the States? How this came about and how they knew the plane was coming here? This is the first I'm hearing this, Jake. I've not heard this. If you give me some additional details on this, I can certainly look into it. However, I would think that, like most air ambulances or situations like medical situations, they have to pre-test people for certain things. And just like we had to pre-test before, remember one of our cases was actually someone, an HSA patient. They were asymptomatic, and the only way that we actually found out that they had anything is that they were going overseas for procedure, and we needed to test them because the U.S. isn't going to take anyone without them being tested. So presumably, Jake, that works in both directions. So I don't know anything about this case necessarily, but if they came in, presumably they would have been tested. So here we go. Now Phaedra has joined in the conversation. We'll just block her too. Oh my gosh, how many family members are we going to have to block tonight? Yeah, so Jake, send me some more information on that because I don't actually know. Yes, my dear Cameron, they are definitely trigger happy tonight. Coming out of the woodworks, all over my WhatsApp, all over my show. So they have a lot of time on their hands. What can I say? Okay, so my gosh, it is 8 o'clock already. That means that our show is pretty much up. Let's take 1 or 2 more questions. Shira says, so who is responsible for that now? Pension is like hold you up with a gun and take your money and gamble. Please tell me how honest that is. Well, it's the nature of how pensions work here and what the investments are. So, you know, we've seen the markets drop and fall all the time, and we've seen pensions go up and down. And the logic behind pensions, one time I did see something on this from an expert, is that they're meant to be a long-term investment. So over the long term, 30, 40 years, your pensions will grow exponentially and will benefit you. But if you're looking at just a couple years, the markets fluctuate in such a way that, you know, it's not going to really help you that much. Of course, right now, the market is down because of what's happening in the world. So it's an unfortunate time for this type of thing to happen because at the end of the day, you can't really hope to get a whole lot out of your pensions, but we'll see. Like I said, this is a little bit of speculation because we don't have all the details. So Jake says this was a couple days ago. Jake, I didn't hear anything about this. It was mentioned briefly in the conference. Well, that slipped me completely. So I guess I can find out what's going on. Gigi says, laughing out loud, blocking. Chill. We haven't had to block so many people during a live stream ever. So there is a first time for everything. So there you have it. 4 or 5 people blocked tonight. Unbelievable. So blocking him on WhatsApp, blocking them on here. They need to go find something else to do. I mean, if she has all this time on her hands while waiting on a jail sentence, my God. Imagine when she finally goes to jail. Take up knitting or something, girl. Sherry says that she thinks it was this Monday. I'll see what I can find out because I really did miss that entirely. But again, I am assuming, and I can get some clarification on this, that they would have tested them before allowing them into the country, because that seems to be the medical protocol now. Because, you don't want to bring in someone who's sick and then introduce them into hospital with other patients. And, then this is what happened at Health City, right? And then you have a major or minor, whatever you want to call it, outbreak at a health facility. And definitely our government cannot afford to have another hospital kind of go through that situation. So everybody's being contained as much as possible. Yes, Jonathan, you're absolutely right. This is something that we actually have up on our website. I haven't had a chance, I don't think, to send this story out as yet, but the World Health Organization has had funding canceled by President Trump because he's basically lambasting them and saying that they have not done the job protecting the world that they needed to do. And his take on that is that, I'm going to put the link here so you guys can make sure that you read it. I think it's already up on the Facebook page as well. Somehow he's blaming them, that they dropped the ball. They should have done X, Y, Z. He's not taking any responsibility for the poor decisions that he made, including when just in February, this same president was saying that this whole thing was a hoax. He's not taking any responsibility for that. He wants to blame the World Health Organization. And I don't know how much money he gives the World Health Organization. It says American taxpayers provide between 400 million to 500 million for the World Health Organization. China only contributes about 40 million. So basically, he's going to pull that type of funding, $400 to $500 million, from the WHO. And that's sad because the World Health Organization supports a lot of other agencies and governments and stuff like that around the world. So I'm sure this is not the time for, to have their funding pulled. So that's quite a sad situation. So we do have that article up, folks. Go ahead and have a read of it and get all the details and check it out. And again, the breaking news on a regional level right now is coming out of Jamaica that because of an outbreak in a call center, they've had basically a spike in just one day from, I think it was 64 cases up to 105 cases now in Jamaica. And we have that article here for you guys to read as well. Okay, what airplane came in this morning? Gadiel, I did hear that it was hold on, let me tell you what information I have here. It was a Gulfstream G550. That's a private jet. I don't know a whole lot more about it. What I would say is, it's a private plane, so I don't know what it was doing here. I don't know if it was bringing in supplies. There's supposed to not be any commercial or private travel otherwise. So Paul says Medic Jet took a patient to the U.S. It was coming back empty. Okay, so was that plane this morning? I don't know. It was coming back empty, but 2 residents managed to hitch a ride. Okay. Obviously, the plane's owners made extra cash, and the 2 residents are in government lockdown at the isolation hotel. Okay. How do they know that this medic jet was coming? I guess when you're in the know, you're in the know. All right, so that's kind of interesting. They've got connections. All right, so Douglas, thank you so much. Lavita, thank you. You have a wonderful night as well. I thought that we were closed. So did I, Gadiel. So I think we might want to get a little bit more information on that. They're obviously extremely well connected, folks. That is interesting. So Romel, yes, you can exercise I'm gonna repost because I think a lot of us are missing the updates and sort of like what you can do and when you can do it, sort of thing. So I'm gonna repost that perhaps in this stream because you got to keep up. I know that it's always changing, and it is a little bit confusing for people. So I think that that is why occasionally just reposting those details is helpful. So we are under a little bit more of a stricter situation now with when we can go out based on last names. So that was extended as of last week. And so now you have to not just go grocery shopping on certain days, you have to make sure that all of your business in terms of this is done. Although exercising is the one exception, you can exercise every day for up to an hour and a half. You know, nothing in the water though. So no swimming, no walking the beach, stay away from the beaches completely. And yeah, so that's kind of where that at. Sunday, you can't do anything. Sunday is a hard lockdown. Final notation, our jackass of the day. And we're doing these because we are just sick and tired of people. Yes, thank you, Charles. I'm actually just getting to that, ironically enough. We are sick and tired of people running in the face of the stay in place orders and not caring about it. So we have this jackass of the day. That's just the title that we're going to give people who are ignoring this. And I've had everyone from politicians to other people say, thank you for doing this, because maybe this method of naming and shaming will actually work to get people to, you know, stay inside. So this guy, not only did he go paddle boarding, which he claims on his social media page that he tried to do that like 6 times. So he was in the water when all water activities have now been a big no. He also invited a neighbor over apparently to cut his hair for him. And him and the neighbor are seen taking photos with the gloves on and the razor in his hand, all this kind of stuff. The neighbor's like right here on his head, nowhere near 6 feet and definitely nowhere near 13 feet apart from each other. And, you know, the government has said, do not let anyone into your house. Don't have massage therapists coming to your house. Don't, you know, have salon people coming, because you don't know where they have been. You cannot vouch for them. And the contact, how this works, it's very easy to spread it, as we have seen. So why he thought that this was funny and something that he could post on social media, I have no idea. And then he made some joke about it, about, you know, apparently just on this weekend, he was calling other people idiots who were going to the beach and causing the beaches to get locked down. And then he does the exact same thing. So this is not cool. And then some people are trying to compare this to me walking my dog a block with my daughter on Sunday. And what I want to say for the record is my daughter and I don't meet anybody when we walk, because we live in a street where nobody else is ever outside. They don't have dogs really that they walk. The few people that do go walking when they exercise, it's not that time of day. And so we went into a gated area, allowed Coco to do her little business. My daughter got her little 5 minutes outside with some fresh air, and we came right back. Yes, I'm not actually supposed to do that. And I admit that I'm 100% wrong, because it was a Sunday. So it was a hard curfew. Any other day I would have been fine. So going forward on a Sunday, I won't do it. However, how do you compare that to me inviting someone over to cut my hair in my house and exposing them to my whole household, and vice versa? Or how do you, you know, go paddle boarding in the water when the government has said, nope, that's a big no-no. And then you make a big joke about it. You have somebody else there recording you going paddle boarding. So you were obviously in contact with someone else. It's really not even the same. So I know people trying to say, well, if you're going to call somebody else out, let's look at what you've been doing. Fair enough, but it's not really apples to apples or oranges to oranges. Lesbia said that there were 4 planes that came in today. I heard that there's 3 types of coronaviruses floating around. Have you heard anything? Let me get back to you on that, because they are concerned that it is mutating. There are different strains of it. And so that is definitely a concern, because you may have had it and become immune to one strain, and then you pick up another strain. And apparently, the strain that's in, or the one that's in the US, didn't even really come from China. It came from the European leg. So I know Trump is trying to blame the Chinese and saying that the World Health Organization did not do enough. But unfortunately, China is not even where the US got it from. So, Charlene, two-part question. Your questions were submitted and they've not been answered. So again, we have kind of touched upon them and discussed them on last week Thursday's show about employment opportunities and so on here in the Cayman Islands. But the officials have not responded to that, so I don't know what to tell you. I mean, the closest that the premier has come to that was yesterday when he addressed Wendy Ledger, who had posed some comment or some question about work permit holders being able to find employment opportunities. And he was like, really, we have enough Caymanians here that we need to worry about first employing, and work permit holders can't be the government's first concern when it comes to securing work. So that's as close as he's come, Charlene, to answering your question. Charles is wondering if white privilege might be at play here. I mean, I don't even know if that's the case, because obviously the guy who's cutting his hair is a person of color. It's just that it wasn't him that was posting it on his social media page. And this guy, obviously, he doesn't care. I mean, you see people saying, well, that's not social distancing, or, you know, what you're doing goes against the rules. And he's like, yeah, so what? I don't care. So maybe the police need to have a little chat with him. All right, we're going to end the program. Mary, thank you so much for tuning in. Ramel she says, Ramel, yes, you can, not on the beach, but not on Sundays, as Sundays is hard curfew. So again, Sundays, you're supposed to basically just stay in your yard. So I think he issued some sort of an apology, but it wasn't, you can tell it wasn't really a heartfelt apology. It was like, oh, whatever, these people are in my business kind of thing. Well, now the police are going to be in your business, because they should be in touch with you. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in to another segment of Seek Out Sandy, your Q&A. We didn't get as many questions answered, obviously, because we were being trolled tonight by a few people. Listen, if you don't like what's said on this platform, you don't have to listen to it. That's the beauty of it. But if I say something on this platform that isn't true about you, you're more than happy to set the record straight. If it's truly defamatory versus just being my opinion of you, which are two very different things, then you can certainly take that up with the law, because that's what the law are there for. The law meaning you go hire yourself a lawyer and try to sue me for defamation. But the one defense, absolute defense of defamation, is the truth. And that is why, folks, we call this show The Cold Hard Truth. You guys have a wonderful night. I'll see you guys in the morning.
You don't know who I am, but I know all about you. I've come to talk to you tonight about the things I've seen you do. I've come to set the record straight. I've come to shine